Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of My Book of Mormon with me, David Michael, and our co-host,
Bryce Blankenagel. Thanks for having me on.
Well, of course, Bryce. Welcome back. And for those of you that don't know, this is our special 100th episode of the show. Very exciting. And as a special treat for everyone, we have I've gone way back to return a favor to two gentlemen that host the show Irreligiosophy. So we have Chuck and Matt from Irreligiosophy who are joining us today. Welcome, Chuck and Matt.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I don't know why Matt's here.
I don't know why I'm here. I'm going to leave.
Hold on.
I'm going to get a drink, and then I'll think about it. I'll be back.
Why are you interviewing Matt?
You can keep drinking while you're on the show, Matt. It's fine. You don't have to.
I already started.
There you go. Good man.
Matt never stops drinking.
So yeah, about the show started. This show started about a year and a half ago. I first released it like the beginning of May in 2014. And by the end of the month, actually, my Skype actually tells me the exact date. It was May 31st. I recorded with Chuck and Matt on their show. So one of the early boosts to the show was because of you guys. And I want to thank you so much for having me on then. It really did give the show a little kick in the butt to get it moving. There's actually several iTunes reviews out there that say, heard you on Irreligiosophy and checked out your show. So really appreciate it, guys.
You probably got 4 or 5 listeners from that.
At least.
I think 6.
I think we're up to 10 now, and probably half of them from you. So thank you so much.
I'm jealous.
All right. So why don't you, I assume Chuck, since Matt's just here to drink, why don't you tell us a little bit about your show and what got you started and anything you want to say about it, really?
Well, yeah, how far back do you want to go? We originally started in 2009 with Leighton, and it was a kind of an anti-religious podcast. We both come from Mormon backgrounds, both raised Mormon. Leighton was raised in the church, mainstream church. I was raised essentially as a fundamentalist Mormon with all of the doctrines of polygamy and all the crazy shit, Adam God. They touched on blood atonement, but there wasn't a whole emphasis on blood atonement when I was a kid. Most of it was teaching me the difference between the mainstream church and the true church that Joseph Smith restored, that the actual Mormon church had fallen away from after they signed the manifesto. Then we took a little break, rebooted the podcast with Matt Wakefield, who's just kind of a generic Christian, right, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Just raised, basically started out as a Catholic, but then I was adopted later on, ended up just a bunch of community Christian churches. Kind of, what do you call it? Born again churches, really.
So Matt, you're kind of a player. You kind of were out there spreading your wild oats amongst all the different churches there.
I didn't have a choice. This is one of those things your parents do. It's like, we're going to church. You're just like, okay, you know.
Matt,
as soon as
did
I
you
moved
ever
out,
ask?
I was just like, never looked back.
Did you ever ask of God, who giveth liberally and upbraideth not, which one was the true church?
I never did. I only asked him when can I stop showing up on Sundays?
Stop going. Matt, I met Matt in high school, and the one thing I remember about Matt in high school is he listened to really shitty Christian heavy metal music.
Oh, yeah.
Like Stryper and all those guys?
Stryper, yeah. Petra.
I remember Petra.
Amy Grant.
Okay, wait, you just veered off the heavy metal a little bit with Amy Grant.
I know, but there wasn't a lot of choices back then.
No, I remember all that from my youth. Man, that was bad music, wasn't it?
Oh,
I think it seems like I'm walking that same path at the moment as you, Matt. I'm listening to lots of death metal bands right now, and some of my favorite ones are the most Christian-y ones because they're the angriest for some reason.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're absolutely amazing. Look up some Immure or Fit for a King or some of the crazy Christian death metal bands, and they are psychos.
I see.
And it's even more fun because they'll sometimes stop in the middle of a song and just like preach a sermon or talk or like and have like an exchange with the devil or something. It'll go so crazy. I love it.
Bryce, I didn't get the impression that Matt still listens to Christian rock. Yeah. I think this was the... So apparently you do, Bryce. That's interesting. Learned something new about you.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I would say, so I'm a big fan of Irreligiosophy. Believe me or not, I never miss it. It's one of the ones that up at the top of the queue there. And so I would say that your show focuses around current events, and then now and then you just give us a treat. One of those treats, I think, one of my favorite things of any show was your the 3-episode rendition on the not rendition, but the coverage of our founding fathers and where this country really came from. I was so educated listening to that, and honestly horrified that I didn't know most of that already. The descriptions that you gave of our founding fathers, where it came from, where did they come up with these ideas to start this country? Just shocking to me that topic isn't covered in that way in schools. I almost think that your podcast should be mandatory listening in schools for people because nobody else is doing it. I've just never heard anyone else that covered it that well. So for that, I really wanted to thank you because I learned a ton listening to that. Actually, all 3 of those episodes. I kind of wish you'd kind of lump them all into one, maybe as a standalone so people wouldn't have to go find it. But anyway.
I would just reflect that same sentiment there. I've listened to a few of your episodes. One of them was with an interview with Dr. Robert Price, which I listened to that guy like crazy. I love that show. But you guys, that 3-episode saga of the founding fathers was something that just completely blew my mind. Because you see from the perspective of the people that are writing the letters, George Washington or Alexander Hamilton, who was the most Christian out of all the people that you guys covered. It was just so fascinating to see like how much George Washington really kind of loathed going to church and being the what was it called, like a journeyman or something, or a vestryman, what was it called?
Vestryman. Yeah.
Yeah, just how much he loathed it, and he like kind of gave like this resignation letter of like that you would give at like a McDonald's, right? Like, sorry, I'm done. See you later. F you guys.
Right. I'm not showing up to work tomorrow.
All right, Bryce, I gotta remind you, we're still trying to keep the show clean, so let's limit the amount of beeps I have to do at the end of this.
Oh,
everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we try.
May have it's not explicit tagged, right? Bryce's is.
Bryce's most certainly is.
At the very beginning, it says, there is an explicit tag for a reason. But yours isn't, right? You try to keep it clean so that, I don't know if I can do that.
Well, I've got a beep button, so don't worry. I'll do my best.
We're on a 7-second delay. All right, I can.
I guess we should warn people, if they do come and find us, it's explicit.
It's explicit.
Well, yeah, we were actually supposed to record this in advance, but because of schedules, we're actually doing it the day that I need to release this episode. So I'm going to spend the rest of the day putting all this together and editing and posting it and whatnot. So the number of beeps that I have to go find and do, would prefer it if it was less. But if there's a lot, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
If only someone would edit our podcast and release them the day we recorded it.
Matt, go for it.
I'll edit and release.
Hey Matt, lift a finger to do something for the podcast.
I say we do it live. Damn it! I mean, darn it. Sorry.
Damn's fine. Well, all right. So anyway, I love your show.
Thanks for that.
Oh, okay, no problem.
The Founding Fathers episodes I wanted to do before the election cycle because you're going to hear tons of false information about the Founding Fathers during, especially the Republican side of things, about how they were all evangelical Christians and this country was founded on Christian principles. And it turns out that actually it was founded on secular principles, and that's why they enjoy the religious freedom to talk about that today.
Wonderfully done.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that blew my mind, I can't remember if it was a John Adams quote or who it was. It could have been, maybe it was a Jefferson quote that people constantly use as right-wingers that say, this proves that he had some sort of feeling of divinity. But then you guys went back and looked at the quote in context and then read the rest of it that people that quote that quote tend to leave out. And it was like saying the exact opposite of what the quote was initially intending. And, I don't know, that was one of those that just blew my mind. But I think that was a Jefferson quote, wasn't it?
It was a Jefferson quote where he was talking about God and sacrificing the altar of this. And it was all about how he was fighting against the priests and priestcraft and all these guys trying to take over the government. And he'll fight until he dies. But they never add that portion of it in, how he's talking about.
It's like when Darwin talks about
religion.
complexity of the eye. You just cherry pick the one little sentence they like. Oh, look, even Darwin said it's impossible. It's like, no, go on and read the rest of it. There's more.
Well, I can't recommend it highly enough to anyone listening to this. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go by. I don't know if we could call out the episode numbers. It's fairly obvious. It's in the show titles. It'll say Founding Fathers Part 1, 2, and 3. And definitely worth a listen. And maybe I could nudge you a little bit, Chuck, since apparently Matt doesn't know how to edit, to maybe lump them together for educational purposes, just so we could have one big happy.
I think what I'll do is go back and lump all of them together and just release it as one 40-hour podcast. Irreligiosophy Part 2.
Those are the best. Absolutely the best.
And so instead of episode numbers, it's like on hour 32, there's something really interesting.
Exactly. I'll just keep adding it to the end of this. Perfect. Good
Fantastic.
idea.
Yeah, glad I could illuminate you there. Okay, so you guys are strapped in, ready to read some Doctrines and Covenants. I know I kind of sprung this on you. I don't think either of you were expecting to do this. Chuck, you sounded really excited when I said we were going to actually be reading the Doctrines and Covenants.
I cannot believe you are. I thought reading the Book of Mormon from start to finish, doing a podcast on it was excruciating for you. I mean, you've got a great attitude about it. How just crazy it is. Growing up in this, oh my God, I couldn't do it. But the Doctrine and Covenants, honestly, I would rather have my left testicle sacrificed than read the Doctrine and Covenants from start to finish.
Well, you won't have to read it from start to finish, Chuck. Just a section or two, depending on how quickly we go.
So I had the scissors out. I was about to cut that testicle.
Just to get off of this call.
Just to get out of this.
Well.
I'd like to know how that plan was supposed to go.
We're only going over one.
My testicle has been severed. I must go.
Oh, sorry. Too late? Too late, Matt?
Matt jumped the gun.
All right, so here's one way that we do keep it a little bit more fun. So you guys remember the drinking game? So in from way back in Book of Mormon days, we decided that anytime yea or it came to pass was said, we'd drink. But those started to become few and far between throughout the Doctrines and Covenants. So there's two more words.
Yep.
So it's hard to keep track of now. But we now also have behold and verily. So once again, behold, verily, yea, and it came to pass, we all yell drink. So that it makes it a little more fun, especially if you're actually drinking. Then it makes it a lot more fun. And it's gotten Bryce and I in trouble in the past. We've sometimes played along maybe a little bit too religiously, and sometimes the end of our episodes sound a lot less comprehensible than the beginning.
We just digress a little too much.
Yeah, spend lots of times in rabbit holes for no reason. Anyway.
Yeah, you may not have an explicit tag, but you may want to add a health warning to this podcast.
Indeed. There was one episode. There was one episode that was absolutely egregious it was an early one in the Book of Mormon. I think that it would have taken 17 beers to get through it. And I actually did put a warning on that one that says, under no circumstances should you play along to the drinking game during this episode.
Camp outside the emergency room before you start listening to this episode.
Yes, it will result in death. Okay. So we are starting with section 6. So who wants to kick it off? All right, I'll kick it off.
Go for it. You've got the best voice, don't you?
Oh, I don't know, Chuck. You can.
Yeah, I can try to get too down and low, but I think you've got the best radio voice out of all of us.
Oh.
Or Matt. Matt's my second choice.
Wow, Bryce, you suck.
I know, right? I was like, okay. I don't have the panty dropper voice. I get it. I know.
Let me just point out, Chuck is not being serious. He does not think I'm a second choice good for anything.
Oh.
Not even as a podcast co-host.
Not even as a friend? You're not even your second best friend?
Not even as a friend.
Maybe. Most of our iTunes reviews for part 2 mentioned something about not being able to hear Matt, but their dogs certainly enjoy his podcast.
Yes, that joke never gets old.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will start the introduction, and then maybe Bryce, you can give us a little bit of the history. And Chuck, I don't know how much you know about the early Mormon history. I know on your show you've dove dove into some things like the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that was
Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Yeah, so I know that you've done some research into the history, but if you know anything more about the early history that we're reading now, kind of what was the context for when this was written, Bryce usually lets us know a bunch, but if you have anything to add, please do. So here we go. The introduction of Section 6, Revelation given to Joseph Smith the prophet and Oliver Cowdery at Harmony, Pennsylvania. So again, right there, it was given to Joseph and Oliver. So they're both getting the revelation? Probably not. It's probably Joe getting it and telling Oliver what God's saying, but we'll find out. All right, April 1829. So, Bryce, this is before John the Baptist came down and gave everybody a golden shower?
Because that happened in mid to late May.
Okay.
So this was in April. This was, so Oliver Cowdery had gone to live with the Smith family in, Palmyra, and he was teaching Joseph Smith Sr., some arithmetic, we assume, or maybe some history. And then, Joseph Smith Sr. was like, hey, have you heard about my son Joseph Smith Jr., who's writing this book that he's translating from plates? You should go down to Pennsylvania and hang out with them. So I think that's the premise of where this revelation is about to come from.
Gotcha. And at this point, God had already fired Martin Harris for screwing up.
Oh yeah.
No more scribe for you, Mister giving your plates to your wife, or giving yeah. So all right. So now we have Oliver stepping in, the new recruit to be a scribe. All right. Oliver Cowdery began his labors as scribe. There you go. In the translation of the Book of Mormon, April 7th, 1829, he had already received a divine manifestation of the truth of the prophet's testimony. Okay. I guess that was on his drive down to Pennsylvania. Maybe he got knocked off his donkey like Paul.
Yeah, I love how they say he's already received a divine manifestation of the truth of the prophet's testimony respecting the plates, because it's impossible for him to actually show him the plates, right? He's translating the plates apparently right there with Oliver Cowdery, but he can't show it to him.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't mention any of this stuff, but he's actually looking inside a hat at his peepstone right now. The plates are nowhere to be found.
And yeah, that's even more than that. Oliver Cowdery here would go on to be one of the 3 witnesses of the 11.
Yeah.
And that if you read that witness testimony, there's all kinds of inconsistencies and problems with it, where it's easy to understand that he didn't actually see a physical set of plates at any point in time. Nobody did.
You know, a little known fact is that hat was a top hat, and if you put it on a snowman, it would come to life.
Only if the Urim and Thummim were used as his eyeballs, though.
I don't know anything.
All right. So let's finish the intro. We're never going to finish it. Okay. The truth of the prophet's testimony, respecting the plates on which was engraved the Book of Mormon record. The prophet inquired of the Lord through the Urim and Thummim and received this response. So there you go. They didn't even shy away from that. Nope, he was looking at rocks. Alrighty. So somebody else take over. Chuck, why don't you start verse 1? Unless anybody has anything else to add here. I think we kind of said everything there is to say about that. I think we got the setting.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Looks like there's 37 verses and 4 of us. So what is that? 9 verses each. Here we go.
Oh, we're going to interrupt you all the time, so
yeah.
You're not just going to read 9.
This is going to be like a 4-hour episode of one chapter.
Oh my God.
Please don't say that. I still have to edit it today. Anyway.
Verse 1. A great and marvelous work is about to come forth unto the children of men. Behold.
Oh, I love that movie.
Drink.
Drink.
Oh, wait. What did they say?
Behold.
What?
Behold the drink.
Behold.
Behold.
Oh, behold. Sorry, I was hung up on children of men.
Oh, yeah. We've discussed that, Matt. What that just means people, we think.
Oh, I thought it was that movie.
Yeah, that was a pretty twisted movie, wasn't it? That's the one where no one could have kids anymore?
Yes.
Oh, so weird name for it. Should have been.
Children of men. Yeah.
There's only one child. Should have been Child of Man. All right, so we got our drink. Behold.
Behold, I am God.
Yes, you are.
Give heed unto my word, which is quick and powerful, sharper than a 2-edged sword, to the dividing asunder of both joints and marrow. Therefore, give heed unto my words.
That's pretty morbid.
That could almost be a rap lyric from Vanilla Ice, I think. Powerful. I was going to do a Vanilla Ice.
Come on, Matt. You got to try it. You were onto something there.
Yeah. Let's hear some rapping, Matt.
Yeah, let's do that. Nothing ever goes wrong.
All right,
Here, Matt. Doon 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 doodle doon doon. Doon 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 doodle doon doon.
All right, stop.
Nothing?
Hold on, God.
Nice. All right. So
I like how
guess...
he repeats that he's God about 8 times there.
Yeah.
Behold, I'm God, and I'm really strong, and I'm like a sword, right? A really strong sword. I can cut bones and stuff, and by the way, I'm God. So
yeah,
like he's like the most insecure person in the room.
Yeah, and it's almost like, was Joe confused? Like, did he look in the hat and hear a voice and be like, who is this again? I don't know. Is this my Uncle Phil? Oh, it's God. Oh, sorry. Yeah. All right.
Behold, the field
Drink.
is white
Drink.
already. Oh, drink. God.
I'm drinking coffee.
You're going to be jittery soon.
The field is white already to harvest. Therefore, whoso desireth to reap, let him thrust in his sickle with his might and reap while the day lasts, that he may treasure up for his soul everlasting salvation in the kingdom of God. That's a little homoerotic, don't you think?
That's a little thrust in his sickle. No, you don't want to do that.
With his
With
might.
his might.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's
Power
got
top
he's
there.
got to sow his wild oats. So it does seem to have a bit of a violent slant, doesn't it? I'm talking about chopping bones off from joints and marrows with swords, and now we're wiping things with sickles. Why is this so, I don't know, why the violent metaphor here?
Christian persecution.
No idea.
That's the best thing I can think of. It's this idea of, if we aren't on the offense, then everybody else is on the offense against us, right? So we gotta take the proactive offense and be, thrusting our sickle and whatnot. But
so far, all this has said is, I'm God and I'm a badass. Right?
Right. I mean business.
Got it.
Yep.
I mean business. Thrust your sickle in and start some reaping.
This kind of thrust in his sickle. You don't want to thrust into a sickle. You will split your thing right down the middle.
True.
Look, I'm keeping it clean, kids.
Good job, Matt.
Thanks.
Strong work. Yay.
Drink.
That's another one. Drink. Whosoever will thrust in his sickle and reap, the same is called of God.
Wow.
Therefore, if you will ask of me, you shall receive. If you knock, it shall be opened unto you. That's one of Joseph Smith's favorite verses.
It's also it's a crock of nonsense, right? I mean, people ask God for things all the time, but they don't get them.
Are you trying to tell me that you've never had a personal visitation by 2 personages who hovered above your head? This is my beloved son.
Things happen when you get really high, all right? But just in normal everyday life, not so much.
That would be funny if he appeared to you and he said, "Behold," and you'd say, "Drink," and then he'd say, "Whoa."
It is a bunch of crap. People pray all the time, and it's even worse in the New Testament where Jesus says, "Ask and you shall receive," because who among you, if his son asks you for some bread, would give you a rock? And the next verse is me. I would all the time. I do it all the time.
Yeah, that was copy and pasted into the Book of Mormon, actually. He said the same exact thing on his second stop of his world tour in America. Yeah. Same exact thing.
I love how that stop in the Book of Mormon is like is like what people think should have happened when Jesus came back, right? In the New Testament, Jesus kind of comes out. He just hangs out with his apostles for a while. You hear Peter eat some fish. Here's some stuff I want to tell you. And then he floats up into heaven. In the Book of Mormon, he destroys all these cities. There's massive earthquakes, total darkness.
Yeah.
I'm just going to rewrite this. Exactly. This is how it should have happened.
Are you saying the Book of Mormon is just a bunch of fan fiction?
Oh, it's total fan fiction. Are you kidding?
Not even just fan fiction. It was so directly plagiarized from so many different places. So it was like an amalgamation of somebody that's a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, and every other sci-fi movie out there, all making it into their one ultimate movie that they can possibly think of that would be the best plagiarized video movie ever. And that's kind of what this is, a version of fan fiction.
Bryce, we're going to get emails mentioning Battlestar Galactica if you don't include them.
Battlestar Galactica, yes.
There you go. My God, the number of people that have told me, it's like a bunch of Mormon stuff in there.
Yeah, like they go to COBOL, and it's amazing.
So instead of thanking Philip K. Dick for all my sci-fi, I should thank Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Sounds great. All right, somebody else want to take over?
Sure.
Chuck, you really wanted to do your first 9 so you could be done and just hang up. Is that what was going on?
I'm good. I'll put the knife down and.
All right, Matt, do you want to pick up the sickle and start reaping?
I would love to. Which one were we on?
We're on number 6.
Number 6. I can only do it if I read it in the Princess Bride. The guy who does the wedding book.
Fantastic. Good luck.
I wish I could do that.
You keep making these promises. You're going to rap like Vanilla Ice. You're going to do it.
That's all I do. I just make promises.
Okay.
Empty promises.
Empty. Now that he was asked, behold.
Drink.
I say unto you, keep my commandments and seek to bring forth and establish the cause of Zion. What's the cause of Zion?
I think it's like making a super awesome place on earth where God can come live.
Oh, I think that's Snoop Dogg.
Cause of Zion is to give Joseph Smith money so he never has to do any manual labor for the rest of his life.
Oh, and it worked so well. He was a genius at it. It was amazing.
Actually, speaking of money, keep reading, Matt. Looks like we're about to get into that.
Yeah. Seek not for riches, but for wisdom. And behold,
what an asshole. Drink.
The mysteries of God shall be unfolded unto you, and then shall you be made rich. Oh, sure. Behold.
Drink.
My God, it's going to kill you. He that hath eternal life is rich. Oh, that's great. Yeah,
not real rich.
Yep.
Yeah.
That, I think, is a pretty strong undercurrent in Mormon theology, that if you are righteous, you will be blessed temporally with riches.
Thus you have no need of your current riches. So bring them forth unto me.
The get rich schemes are so prevalent in Utah, and Utah is like the number one bankruptcy state in the nation.
Yeah, it's a feedback loop. Like, people that are considered righteous tend to get more leadership positions in the church. Like, they might be a member of the bishopric or the elders' quorum presidency or whatever. And then it's like, oh, so we're delving into this prosperity gospel thing where the more righteous you are, the more that you have riches, or the more that your worldly riches should reflect that. So these people that are, they go into the bishopric that aren't necessarily rich, they'll go and, sign their down payment on a big house or on a really nice car or whatever, just so they have like this outward appearance of, I'm righteous enough, the Lord is blessing all of these temporal riches. But, it's kind of a positive feedback loop. And the more they get into that, then the higher they get up into the stake presidency and into the other quorums and further above that. And it's all built on like this false premise of the prosperity gospel.
And then everyone keeps popping antidepressants to not worry about how much debt they're in.
Exactly. It's just like the original church, right? Jesus' apostles were all independently wealthy businessmen. And, they're just restoring the original church.
Okay. We're going to be excited about the next one, 2 in a row.
Get your bottle ready.
All right. I guess I'll start on this one.
Drink.
Verily.
Drink again.
Drink.
I say unto you, even as you desire of me, so shall it be unto you. And if you desire, you shall be the means of doing much good in this generation. Say nothing but repentance unto this generation. Keep my commandments and assist to bring forth my work according to my commandments, and you shall be blessed.
Yeah.
So do what I say, bitches.
That's right.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Nah, that one's fine.
Yeah.
If you can say it on primetime TV, then it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much what it said, right? And he also went back to that same thing, like, if you want it, I'll give it to you, as long as you're asking for the right reasons, I guess, is kind of the clause in there.
Right. And that's the thing too, is if you're asking for something, if you're asking God for something and it's part of his plan for you to not have it, isn't that kind of like a paradox? Are you adjusting the will of God for that? But I mean, I guess, well, this was only saying just, say nothing but repentance. So this is just all about proselyting repentance, which is rife throughout the Book of Mormon, where people would just go out and tell people to repent, but they wouldn't actually give them any doctrine or tell them what they're repenting of, or what the sins are in general, or how to be better. It's just like, repent! It's like, what does repent mean?
Yeah,
You're not
God is like God's like a parent with like an unruly toddler, right? They do something wrong, and it's like, no, you're not getting out of that timeout until you say you're sorry. And they're like, I don't want to. It's like, well, you better say you're sorry, because you're not getting up until then. Like he's serious about that I'm sorry part. You don't get away with that.
Yeah, there's an underlying threat there too. I mean, it sounds really nice, right? Keep my commandments to bring forth my work according to my commandments, and you shall be blessed. The converse of that is, you better the hell stay in line, or I'm going to cut you off. You'll be destroyed.
And let's not forget how this chapter started. He knows how to cut pretty well.
Right, through bone and marrow.
Yeah.
Or was it joints? Joints. I love how repetitive God is too. Keep my commandments and assist to bring forth according to my commandment. Oh God, can you imagine listening to this?
We're also waiting. By the way, Chuck,
Jesus,
we're in the 6th article or whatever these are called, section 6, and we've yet to actually like encounter a commandment. Everything so far has just been, right. I'm God and I'm awesome, so follow my commandments.
And we've also seen the same exact line. The field is all white, all ready to harvest, and then thrust in your sickle. We've seen that like 6 times already, and it's just said nothing beyond that. So it's wasted so much space in telling us the same thing over and over, but it hasn't used any space actually telling us what to do.
Except for you have to repent. So just keep telling God you're sorry, and so from what I've read so far, you should be good to go.
It's a bunch of
This
filler.
is exactly what you would expect if someone sat down and tried to write something out, and not what you would expect if someone actually, like an angel, appeared to you and wanted to communicate with you.
Oh, no. I've said repeatedly that God is a terrible communicator. I mean, just one of the worst ever, right? I mean,
hey, can you imagine just sitting there listening to this garbage? And, okay, roll on with it, Jesus. Come on, move on. Get along. Get to the point.
Get it. I get it. I'll be blessed. Blah, blah, blah. Let's go.
All right. I think we're up to 10.
Behold,
Drink.
thou hast a gift, and blessed art thou because of thy gift. Remember, it is sacred and cometh from above.
Now, who is this addressed to? He's saying this to Oliver?
It is all pointed at Oliver, and this is basically like God's contract with Oliver, right? So Ollie came up to Joe and was like, hey, can I be your scribe? And then God came up with this revelation and was like, this is what you can do, and you should be repentant, and, you'll receive all these blessings and richness is blessings. Oh, you also have a gift, by the way, and you're blessed because of the gift.
But if his gift is to be a scribe, how is that a gift? Someone's gonna say words and you're gonna write them down.
I'm not sure which one, but one of these actually gave the answer. Oh, it's a spoiler for D&C 8.
Oh,
you probably want to talk about that.
Nah, go ahead. I've given up on spoilers, Chuck.
Because they talk about what Oliver's gift is, and it's the rod of nature, basically, right? So Oliver Cowdery had a divining rod. So Joseph Smith had a peepstone, and Oliver Cowdery had a divining rod. They're both money diggers, and so Joseph Smith used the peepstone to see where the treasure is. Oliver Cowdery uses this little divining rod to lead him to the treasure. And this is one of the things that was... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to just add in real quickly. I remember being in Scouts and practicing with divining rods as well. And it was it was one of the first times that my skeptic radar was firing off like, wait, we're supposed to walk around with these sticks sticking out, and then when they turn in my hands, then there's water underneath me?
You are kidding me. You did that in the Boy Scouts?
I did that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
We were dowsing in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, there's something weird about Mormonism in that, because my wife's grandfather did the same thing. He got a little dividing rod, and I couldn't ever tell if he was being serious or not. Like, am I supposed to? Am I in on the joke? Am I being made fun of? I don't get it.
Wow.
But yeah, so there, this gift is actually kind of revealed in a later revelation to be his divining rod.
All right.
And they changed it. They changed the from the Book of Commandments to the Doctrine and Covenants. They removed that reference to the divining rod, which you do all the time with the words of God.
Well, hold on. So Bryce actually has the original. That's what he's reading.
No,
from.
I think it's D&C 8. That's why. Okay. That's why it's a spoiler.
We'll be coming
jumping
up on
ahead 2
that
episodes.
soon. We'll be talking about that pretty soon. But I wasn't aware of that at all. That was something that they had removed. I know that everybody's known for a while that Oliver Cowdery was a diviner. That was his magical toy of choice, basically.
I love that that's a profession. What do? I'm a diviner. Okay.
Well, and then you think about it, it's like, these are the people that Joseph and Oliver learned from, right? Both of their dads were members of this same like Zionist treasure digging group in Vermont when Joseph and Oliver were very young children, and they would have been looking up to their dads the most. So they learned it from their dads. Both of their dads were the same exact personality. So, I mean, you can't really blame them because all they were doing is sciencing in the 1830s, the only way that they could know how to science.
I think I can blame them for exploiting everyone they encountered.
Okay, so just for the divining itself alone, we can't blame them. Everything else, they're kind of douchebags.
There you go.
All right, Bryce, you want to take over?
Yeah, I was gonna say you can feel free to edit that entire section out because you'll be talking about it 2 episodes from now.
Yeah, that sounds like work.
Sorry about that.
I don't mind at all.
Let's see. So, therefore, thou shalt exercise thy gift, and thou mayest find out mysteries, and thou mayest bring many to the knowledge of the truth. Yea, drink. Convince them of the error of their ways.
Now, Chuck and Matt, you're probably like, that's not exactly how that was worded, but remember, Bryce is reading from the original text. This is from, 1830, Bryce, right?
1833.
33, yeah. So we're reading the most current version, so I think it said the same thing there. It was just kind of in a different order. But yeah, the meaning was the same. So yeah, if he asks, he has to inquire, but if he asks, then he'll know all about his great and marvelous mysteries. That's okay. And if he exercises his gift, he'll find out mysteries? Boy, that's, okay. I'd be a little confused if I were Oliver right now. Like, what do I have to do to get these magic powers? Right.
And I think they were drawing a line between mysteries and like treasures, right? If I think this is kind of a precursor to what Chuck was talking about earlier. It could be like this is a soft version of, hey, Oliver, keep inquiring and using your gift of divining, and then you'll know mysteries that are, well, basically buried in the ground, like the golden plates were supposedly buried in the ground. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah. And remember, these are plain and precious truths straight from the mouth of God, so there shouldn't be any questions about this stuff.
Yeah, we've already commented on how is it that when you're writing down exactly what God is telling you that can change? Like, at all?
You can edit. You feel free to edit it.
Right. And all of Mormonism talks about how pride is such this awful thing. It's like, yeah, but someone along the line thought that they knew better than God, so that's not prideful.
I consider Jesus' words a rough draft.
Exactly. Let me make them better. All right. Next up, Bryce.
Make not thy gift known unto any, save it be those which are of thy faith. That makes sense. So the first rule of Fight Club, right? That's all that was saying.
Well, it's pretty much just like, look, everyone's going to laugh at you if you tell them. So make sure they have already drank the Kool-Aid before you go and tell them that you've got magic rods. I'm glad you mentioned the rod thing, Chuck, actually, because it actually does make a lot more sense now. Because without that, I'd be like, what gift? What freaking gift? Anyway.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Bryce, does the rest of your verse say, trifle not with sacred things?
Yeah, mine, that's the next.
Okay, good. I was making sure they hadn't taken that out of yours, because that sounds awesome.
No. Yeah, trifle not with sacred things. If thou wilt do good, yea, drink, and hold out faithful to the end, thou shalt be saved in the kingdom of God, which is the greatest of all the gifts of God, for there is no gift greater than the gift of salvation. I think having your own planet is a gift way better than salvation, but I could be wrong.
Jesus, could you repeat that, please, in slightly different order so I can really get it? I'm starting to understand why Moroni had to appear to Joseph Smith 3 separate times. Sorry, 3 separate times.
Chuck,
in his room.
Chuck. That was 3 times in one night. But from the time that he initially appeared in 1823 until the Book of Mormon came out, I think there's like 27 appearances on record. Yeah,
where
it's
he's probably
unbelievable.
saying the same thing. So Joseph Smith is just like this idiot. He's like, okay, where was it again?
So is that the problem this whole time? Here we've been saying God's a bad communicator. Maybe this is the only way he could communicate with Joe.
He just chose an idiot for his instrument.
And he's like, oh, now we have a new one. Who's this Oliver guy? Oh, you're even worse. Okay, strap in.
Just going to keep repeating myself.
Right? With the combination of both of you, we might have one full idiot here.
Alrighty. Ooh, another good drinker coming up.
Sure, I guess I'll continue. Verily, verily,
Drink.
drink. I say unto thee, blessed art thou for what thou hast done. For thou hast inquired of me, and behold, as often as thou hast inquired, thou hast received instruction of my spirit. I kind of want to talk about that
Sometimes
for a
multiple times in the same night or in the same paragraph.
But that's the thing is that these guys were treasure seekers, right? Before the golden plates came along, supposedly, and they started writing the Book of Mormon, that's what they were doing is like asking the spirits or asking God to guide them using these tools to where the treasure was. And they'd go digging for it, and for some reason they would hit the top of the treasure chest or whatever, and then it would just slip further into the ground. So
Yes,
it's like they were asking for these things so fervently in the name of God. Like they wanted this so bad, and God gave them instructions to go dig these things up just so they could slip away from their hands. I don't know. It just seems problematic to say it, black and white like that as part of a revelation from the mouth of God.
That's such a painfully obvious con, too. It's so hard reading that, and they're still convinced. I mean, you read the trial of Joseph Smith as the glass looker, and they put Josiah Stoll on the stand, and he's like, no, I totally believe him. He's like, well, did you get any treasure? No. And
well, we found a feather that was buried, and Joseph Smith said there'd be a feather. We found it. It's amazing.
And he's like, well, then Joseph Smith lied to you. And he said, no, it just kept moving. We kept digging and it kept moving. And the spirits would like sequester it away. I'm like, how do you know that? Well, Joseph Smith told me. It's just like, oh.
And wasn't there some reference to like gnomes or trolls or something that would steal the treasure away?
There are various different types of guardian spirits, I think, that were...
Yeah.
I think one's a Spaniard with his throat cut. I think one was a toad. Yeah. And that all morphed, I think, into the Angel Moroni after he wanted to clean this stuff up. But yeah, originally.
Well, yeah, and that happened a few times. One of the, I think it was 1826 time when Joseph went to the guard or to the hill to bury or dig the plates out of the ground. Of course, he didn't get them until 1827. But he went there every year leading up to 1827 to try and get the plates. And there was one time that he tried to grab them out of the hole. He grabbed them out and set them on the ground and then looked back into the box to see if there was anything else. And then when he turned around to look where he put the plates down, for some reason they were gone. He's like, what the hell just happened? So then he looked back into the box and saw that the plates were there. And he like went to grab for them. And then the Angel Moroni was like, zap, and chucked him away from it. So it's just, Moroni was the guardian spirit. And at the time that he recorded that, I think it was recorded as Angel Nephi. But, I mean, this Angel Nephi was the guardian spirit of these plates. I mean, it's no different than anything that he had been doing his entire life up to that point.
Right. And you can just see him telling the story to his, money digging companions, right? I went up to because they're all in this together. I went up to, and I think one of them, like the year before that, they had paid because he had a vision that he could only get it if he was dressed all in black and had a black horse. And so his friends got money together and bought him a black suit, a black horse. And so then he comes back, of course, doesn't have the plates, and so he's got to make up an explanation, and he's just telling this fascinating story about how he had the plates, he had them, but then he set them down to see if there's anything else, and zap.
All right, I really thought that I was past the point of being shocked, but my jaw is pretty open right now. What the hell?
The interesting thing, too, is that the White Salamander letter that Mark Hoffman forged was based on, a bunch of these different accounts, because he apparently in the salamander letter, he was the spirit, and then he turned into like a white salamander instead of a toad, which is what the account says, and smacked him like 3 times. And the church bought it. They're like, yep, that sounds right. And the crazy thing is, Farms, the apologetic organization, before it was deemed to be a forgery, they defended it. They said, some ancient cultures, salamanders, could be angels, and they're consistent with fire, and sometimes angels have fire, and terrible.
Well, it just goes to show you that, apologists can pretty much spin anything in their direction. It's, that's what they do for a living. They better be able to. Although I got to tell you, the creativity needed for a Mormon apologist is, off the charts. You really got to be quick on your feet to pull that off.
Yes. Yeah. I think Hugh Nibley is one of my favorite apologists, because he will often shoot himself in the foot while he's, he'll argue for something, but unknowingly undermine his entire argument, with the second argument. It's awesome reading all of his stuff, the contortions he bends into. Anyway.
He was one of the people that was on the board that they took the CES letter, which I don't know if you've read that, Chuck, but it's unbelievably amazing. I recommend reading the CES letter. It's like this 70-something page online pamphlet of just a lot of problems and why somebody left their mission and left the church. And Hugh Nibley was one of the people that was kind of at the forefront of the committee that took the CES letter and basically refuted it line by line. And they have all of the, the portions of it circled and drawn out in the margins. They have all of their refutations of it. And if you read those refutations from one to the next, it's oftentimes very, very inconsistent when they're arguing against, consistent paragraphs. And it's just the same kind of thing where they spin a web, or they contort themselves into this pretzel shape. And once you introduce one more thing into the mix, they are instantly contradicted by so much of the case that they've already built up. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, I imagine they cited Hugh Nibley quite a bit. He's been dead for a while.
Hang on. Maybe
he was
somebody else.
He was an apologist in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Do you remember when the Book of Abraham came out? They found the Egyptian papyri, and the church he was ahead of that in I think 67.
Right. He was also the guy that wrote No Ma'am, That's Not History, the refutation on Brody's book. Okay, so I was thinking...
What an asshole.
But yeah, he's...
What an asshole. The book is called No Man Knows My History, and he writes a refutation, and he can't help himself. He's got to, make fun of the title. It says, No Ma'am, That's Not History. It's like, you dick.
You misogynist. Yeah. So yeah, I was
Go on. That's at least funny. That is funny. I'll give him that.
It's funny because of how much of a dick he is.
I agree.
He can't help it. He cannot help it.
All right, I'm going to bring us back. We're never going to finish this thing. I said help us read 1 or 2, and we might be reading half at this rate. All right, so I think we're at 15. Behold, drink. Thou knowest that thou hast inquired of me, and I did enlighten thy mind. And now I tell thee these things, that thou mayest know that thou hast been enlightened by the Spirit of truth. Wow.
Because you don't know when you're enlightened at the time. He's got to tell you you've been enlightened.
Right.
This is me letting you know you've been enlightened.
So now if you think about that thing, before you didn't know it, now you know it. Isn't that cool how that works? All right. Yea, drink, I tell thee, that thou mayest know that there is none else save God, that knoweth thy thoughts and the intents of thy heart. Well, there you go. So only God can read your mind.
And Santa.
And Santa. I thought you'd left, Matt. You've been so quiet. Waiting for that perfect moment. All right. Yes, and of course Santa. I tell thee these things as a witness unto thee. Wait, God's a witness? That's interesting. That the words or the work which thou hast been writing are true. Okay.
It's good he made that distinction.
So God actually said, as I am my witness, instead of as God is my witness?
That is a great point. You read this stuff as a Mormon and you just kind of gloss all over that, but from your perspective, that's like, what in the hell? Jesus is saying, I'm a witness. So if you look at the witnesses the gold plate, like the 3 and the 8 witnesses. Jesus' name should be underneath there too.
There you go.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, there it is awesome. Therefore, be diligent, stand by my servant Joseph faithfully in whatsoever difficult circumstances he may be for the word's sake. All right. So Joe's going to go through some crap. Just hang in there. There's probably going to be times that you're going to want to cut and run, but don't do it because Joe's the man.
Oh, and he didn't listen. He didn't listen.
You remember he got excommunicated after finding Joseph Smith and Fanny Alger in flagrante in the bar.
It was a dirty little affair.
Now, I know we haven't gotten into this in Bryce's show yet. We haven't reached this point of the history where there's the schism. But is this the guy that's kind of more the father of the FLDS, Chuck?
No, that happens way later. The FLDS branches after the manifesto. Oliver Cowdery,
that manifesto was
Methodist or something.
Yeah, the manifesto was 1893, I believe that happened. So
all right, goodness.
Half a century. But yeah, Oliver Cowdery broke off, and he, if I'm not mistaken, him and Emma was kind of massively responsible for breaking off and making the RLDS church. And I think that's kind of where he started to align after Joseph's death. But I could be mistaken in that case.
So there's RLDS, FLDS, what do you call it? Mainstream LDS?
Salt Lake LDS.
The biggest schism, you're right. The biggest schism happened probably when Joseph Smith died. And so, Emma Smith, took her son Joseph Smith III, and he was like 10 or something. They started the reorganized LDS church. And interestingly enough, Joseph Smith had blessed Joseph Smith III that he would become prophet of the church. So,
but then Brigham Young poisoned him or something, right?
No, that was Samuel Smith.
Oh,
that was when Joseph and Hiram were shot. Hosea Stout poisoned Samuel Smith.
But interestingly enough, though, is like that story you just told sounds a lot like the schism that happened in Islam, right? Between the Shia and Sunnis with should it be hereditary or kind of, very, very interesting parallel.
You got to leave succession plans before you die.
Indeed.
Sidney Rigdon actually tried to get in there too. He was excommunicated maybe like 9 months or a year before Joseph Smith died, and he tried to get in too, but everyone went with Brigham Young.
All right. So, Chuck, why don't you keep going there? We're on 18. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 19. Sorry about that.
Admonish him in his faults, and also receive admonition of him. Be patient, be sober, be temperate, have patience, faith, hope, and charity.
Ah, nice. By the way, we know that patience, faith, hope, and charity are all stripper names, so this isn't all bad.
Actually makes a lot more sense. Be sober, be patient, be temperate, but have patience, faith, hope, and charity. That doesn't make sense.
Here we go.
Behold.
Drink.
Thou art Oliver. This must come as a shock to Oliver.
Yeah.
Behold. Thou art Oliver.
He was also hoping to be somebody else too. Something a little more badass. Like the Keymaster or something.
No. You're just Oliver. So you don't get any special title.
Oh God. God probably said it in my voice too. He said, "Behold, thou art Oliver." Oh, that sucks. All right.
Sorry about that. And I have spoken unto thee because of thy desires. Therefore, treasure up these words in thy heart. Be faithful and diligent in keeping the commandments of God, and I will encircle thee in the arms of my love. You know, think
Jesus,
about...
you're smothering me.
20...
Sorry, go ahead.
Awkward man hug. I think we've gone through 20 verses so far. What have we come up with? What anything of interest? Anything?
I'm God. You're Oliver. Joe's my boy. Do what he says. Is that about right?
Stunning revelations worthy of Jesus coming, right, and saying this stuff directly to him, appearing.
And if you, like you said, if you do your job, then I'll give you a super big hug. It's great. Anyway, all right, Chuck. Let's see what else Jesus wants to give old Oliver.
Behold,
drink.
What are we up to now? How many beers are we up to?
I'm not kidding. I think this has been the most successful out of all the DNC so far. So you guys picked the right show to come on.
Excellent. Behold, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
Wait a minute. I thought a second ago he said he was God. Now, which is it?
Oh, yeah, that's true. This is 1829, so he might still be in his Trinitarian phase.
Oh, he hadn't.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, because later on the revelations get a lot more. The Father and the Son are completely separate. They're separate corporeal beings. Like at this point, he hadn't even recounted the 1820 vision in the woods where they descended as two separate beings. That still hadn't happened yet. So yeah,
That's
I mean,
either 18. That's like 4 years from now, maybe 1832 or 1833. Then there's an 1835 version. No, the official one, you're right, is 1838. So
yeah, that's where the final form today. That's where it came from. 18 years after it supposedly happened. That's kind of weird.
So at this point, God's still going through his multiple personality complex, and so now he's switched from God to now he's the Son of God, and who knows? Maybe next verse he'll be a daughter. We'll see.
It's all the same. I am the same that came unto mine own, and mine own received me not. I am the light which shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. So basically, he's just quoting the New Testament.
Yeah.
Once again.
And not even a particularly good quote.
No, yeah. Verily, verily.
Drink, drink.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said drink, drink.
Yeah.
Those are two verilies.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, if you desire a further witness, cast your mind upon the night that you cried unto me in your heart, that you might know concerning the truth of these things. Did I not speak peace to your mind concerning the matter? There you go. I just gave you peace. I didn't actually answer your question. I gave you peace.
That's it. What else could you possibly want? Did you not have what is it called? The warm bosom feeling? What's that thing?
Right. Did your bosom not burn?
Burning of the bosom. That's what it is. Yeah. I never knew my whole life that heartburn meant God was with you.
Now you know that there's no greater witness.
There is none. Nothing better than peace. All right, Matt, you're on 24.
24. And now, behold,
drink.
You have received a witness. For if I have told you things which no man knoweth, have you not received a witness?
He keeps asking these rhetorical questions.
Because I can't remember. Maybe God's drunk. Maybe God's playing the drinking game.
He might be.
It does sound like he's drunk.
He's like, did I send you a witness?
I can't remember. I swore I sent you a witness. Did I? I don't. Just help me out. Yeah, it's awesome.
And then he went on.
Like a whole paragraph ago. I can't keep this stuff straight.
And behold,
drink.
I grant unto you a gift, if you desire of me, to translate, even as my servant Joseph.
Oh.
Okay. Finally we're getting into like something's actually happening here.
Yeah.
Because this is a point that we're going to read this really soon here, but some interesting stuff goes down here with a little gift swap between Oliver and Joe.
Well, right now it sounds like they're sharing, right? They're both going to be translators?
Yeah, that's where we're going with this.
Very exciting. All right.
What if he said no thanks? I grant you a gift if you desire.
He doesn't desire. Yeah.
Well, Chuck knows. Well, I mean, Chuck, you know how bad it is to deny a calling in the church. If you're given a calling, you take that. You don't ever give it up.
I don't know. I do think that Mormons do miss the ball here, because you could easily point to this scripture, and it happened before, if you remember, Bryce, where it said, only if you desire it. So I think you just look and be like, well, I just don't want to be the bookkeeper of the ward or whatever the hell it is, right? Like, I just don't have the desire, so it must not be God's real calling.
They will tell you that God knows your desires more than you do.
Right. Or God knows.
And if you have the faith, yes, exactly. If you have the faith, you will desire it.
There you go.
You can't get out of it. You can't get out of it.
Chuck, giving me like a Vietnam flashbacks of the church right now. Like about to go curl up in a ball and start screaming, Thomas Monson!
We've heard you do that on your show, Bryce.
Yeah, now that is an interesting point. Now, in your show, you kind of describe yourself and your history as you kind of went to church. Were you ever really fully engaged in it?
Yeah, definitely. When I was younger, I mean, I did all my duty to God stuff. I got my Eagle Scout. I was definitely well into the church and, an active participant. But I just, like a lot of teenagers, I kind of got apathetic. I got bored with it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to anymore.
That's where that sense of betrayal comes, right? All that wasted time where you believed as a kid.
Oh, yeah. And I got out early. Like, I had 16 years in and then I was out. I see and talk to people all the time that, like, I was in for 30 years or 40 years on a mission, married in the temple, and I hear all of the the extra that they had to go through that I never experienced. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night? I'd have night terrors from how much time I'd wasted of my entire life.
Right. You didn't spend 2 years of your life on a mission, right? I can't imagine going on that mission and converting a whole bunch of people, spending all that time, taking 2 years out of my life and doing that, and then coming back and then finding out about like the peepstone and the money digging, because you always assume when you're in it that that's just anti-Mormon propaganda, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's not true.
And then when you get on the outside and you start learning these things, you will sometimes fall into this cycle of like a sunk cost fallacy, where you're like, I've given so much of my life to this, therefore it must be true. But it's just not. It just doesn't have any effect on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chuck, there were times that I had heard kind of things that I assumed were just rumors and like you said, anti-Mormon, you speak. And then and then I would go and read it in the Book of Mormon and be like, oh my God, there really are submarines? Oh, I thought that was a joke. you know what I mean? It happened a few times. Yeah. So I'm actually from the other side of that, where things that people believe I thought was insane. Even once I had, sorry everybody that's heard this before, but I had 2 Mormon missionaries come to my door, and I had just finished reading. I think I was still reading Ether, so I was all excited. And I looked at them and I was like, just to make sure they were legit, I said, do you guys actually like really believe that there's just 3 Nephites that are thousands of years old wandering the earth? And they just looked at me with a perfectly straight face and said, absolutely. And I was like, all right, guys, you get in here. I got lots of questions. You pass the religious test. Get your butts in here. Anyway, okay.
You are crazy enough to step through my door.
Yeah.
I was in a discussion with somebody just yesterday about the game that you and I played on my show, David, with the Book of Mormon, where we were reading from either the Late War or from the Book of Mormon, and we were playing a drinking game along to it. You would decide if it was the Book of Mormon or if it was the Late War of 1812. And this person was making the argument of, David Michael never studied the Book of Mormon the way that ex-Mormons studied the Book of Mormon when they were believing. And that's why the game was so much easier for you, because you you read it from a skeptical perspective from the beginning. You weren't told from the beginning that it was, the Word of God and that you need to study it and read it every day. So for somebody that's, kind of mired in that belief system where they think that the Book of Mormon is the most correct book on the planet, they might have a hard time, or a harder time, not picking out those small operative words that were in the phrase that you were able to pick up on and say, no, that doesn't sound Book of Mormon-y, or, oh yeah, that one word does sound like it's from the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think you had an unfair advantage. That's all I'm saying.
Well, in my defense though, Bryce, the beginning of the Book of Mormon did tell me that it was the Word of God and the most correct, true thing ever written. So, I mean, someone told me that. Just happened to be the same book I was reading, which kind of loses a bit of credibility.
Right. Yeah. Behold, let that be a witness to you.
Exactly.
I just drank reflexively. My mistake.
Okay. So, Matt, I think you're still up with 26.
26. I've just been looking ahead. I don't think you're going to survive this.
No, this is a rough drinking. We might have to cut some words out. Anyway, let's see.
Verily,
drink again.
I say unto you, that there are records which contain much of my gospel, which have been kept back because of the wickedness of the people.
Yeah, for 1,500 years, people were just too wicked for those plates to be uncovered.
That's why it was the Dark Ages, because the real gospel wasn't on the planet. We had to wait for Joseph Smith to come along to pull the earth out of the Dark Ages. Didn't you know that?
I heard that argument too. After the Book of Mormon is when you get the Industrial Revolution, and then the last 200 years, all of this scientific advancement, and that you can pinpoint right back to the light that spread across the earth.
Because correlation always equals causation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
every time.
And now I command you that if you have good desires, a desire to lay up treasures for yourself in heaven, then shall you assist in bringing to light with your gift those parts of my scriptures which have been hidden because of iniquity.
Same thing.
Yeah.
You have a gift, but only if you really want it, I guess. All right.
And now behold,
drink.
I give unto you, and also unto my servant Joseph, the keys of this gift, which shall bring to light this ministry, and in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, what? Shall every word be established.
They weren't
Just
sure.
2 or 3.
Yeah, Jesus wasn't sure at this point. He's like, so far it's just 2 of you, but I may throw somebody else in. We'll see.
I've got 2 yeses. I got 1 maybe.
Yeah,
So,
God's probably like, listen, I wasn't expecting to have to fire that Martin Harris guy, so you just never know. You guys keep screwing up.
they haven't responded to my e-bites.
Yeah. Haven't responded.
2, 3, same thing.
All right, Bryce, you want to...
1.
Sure. 3 in 1. That's how it is. Verily, verily, double drink. I say
Double
unto
shot.
you, if they reject my words and this part of my gospel and ministry, blessed are ye, for they can do no more unto you than unto me.
What?
And if they...
Stop. What the hell did that just say? If someone else rejects the gospel, then Oliver's blessed because they rejected it? I don't understand that at all.
I think it may be a little early on, but there's a section in the New Testament where they kind of get rejected and they kind of shake off the dust of their feet and move on. You'll hear a lot in later church history about these guys being clean of the blood of this generation because they've given them the chance to accept it. They've rejected it. And so their blood is not on their hands anymore, right? They gave it their best shot.
Gotcha.
This might be kind of the beginning of that doctrine. Blessed are you. They can't harm you, right? And you're free of their sins.
Gotcha.
And does it also kind of solidify that by saying they can't do any more to you than I can do to you? Am I reading that right?
No, I think what it's saying is they can no more harm you than they can harm God.
Right.
Oh, okay.
You're as protected as I am.
And then he kind of backpedals a little bit. Next verse.
All right, let's see. Let's see the back pedal.
And if they do unto you, even as they have done unto me, blessed are ye, for you shall dwell with me in glory. But if they reject
Good news.
not my...
Good news. If they crucify you, it's like they did me, it's all good.
Let's see. But if they reject not my words, which shall be established by the testimony which shall be given, blessed are they, and then shall ye have joy in the fruit of your labors.
All right, so no matter what happens, sounds like Oliver's going to be blessed. So he should feel pretty good right now.
All right. Why?
And
if that's the case, why would he ever leave, right?
Yeah.
If you're granted blessings no matter what you do, as long as you are, actually it didn't specify what he has to do. He just has to be blessed, right? As long as he's doing it, then why would you not continue to do that until you die?
Yeah, so if people don't listen to you, don't worry, they can't hurt you. But even if they do crucify you, don't worry, you'll still be blessed. And then, but if some small chance some people actually believe you, well, then you're going to get then it's really going to get super blessings. I think is what all that said.
yeah, they'll use that too to tell young people to go on the missions because, how great is your joy if you save even one soul into Jesus?
There you go. How great.
And how great if you bring many souls unto Jesus, even more so great.
Oh, lots of fruit. You're getting lots of fruit for your labors.
And I remember being told when I was approaching missionary age and going and doing baptisms for the dead and whatnot. I remember being told, like, you'll be greeted in heaven by all of the souls that you saved, and they'll treat you like a rock star, right? Because you were responsible for their salvation. And I remember thinking, like, man, that'll be really cool when I die and I get hugs from all these people that the person that's dunking me can't pronounce their names. But, I mean, yeah, it's all good.
I don't know. That just sounds like a lot of responsibility. I don't know if I want, right? It's almost like sleeping with a virgin. Like, you really got to be sure that that's something you want to do, because it's like, do you really want this person to remember you forever? Right? This better be more than just like a one-night stand for you, because that's just a lot of responsibility to take on. Yeah.
That's the David Michael tenet of reality. Yes. Just throw the bar on the ground as low as possible, and if you happen to stumble over it, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
There you go.
That is an exact analogy. There is no difference.
Okay. Well, since I've successfully embarrassed myself, I'll just keep going. Verily drink, I say unto you, as I said unto my disciples, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, as touching one thing, behold, drink, there will I be in the midst of them.
Thing. Oh
yeah, they're playing Soggy Biscuit. Even so, I'm in the midst of you. So yeah, if a bunch of people touch the same thing, God's there.
They're gathered around Jesus, touching one thing. He's right there in the midst of them, right?
Oh, he's gonna miss them, all right. Sorry. Fear not to do good. Fear not to do good? Okay. My sons, for whatsoever ye sow, that shall ye also reap. Therefore, if ye sow good, ye shall also reap good for your reward. Seriously, it's like this was written by a kindergartner. You know what I mean? It's like, if you
that's plagiarized.
If you do good, you'll get good.
Yeah, I thought initially it was just like the frontier speak, right? If you sow good, you'll get good. But I think what it means is, if you sow good stuff, you shall reap good stuff, right? Is that what he's saying?
Which in farming is true. If you plant your seeds well, then you're going to get crop. So this isn't exactly revolutionary here. Or revelationary. That was the wrong R word.
Good old farming metaphors. You can never go wrong sticking them in your holy book.
Yeah, right.
All right, Chuck, your turn.
Therefore, fear not, little flock.
I'm sorry. I had to pause you there. Fear not, little flock. That's classic. Okay.
Yeah. Very little flock. There's 2 of them right now. Fear not, little flock, do good. Let earth and hell combine against you, for if ye are built upon my rock, they cannot prevail.
Yeah, I would prefer for hell not to come against me, but, at least I'll survive, I guess. Bummer.
Yeah. Behold, drink, I do not condemn you. Go your ways and sin no more. Can you say, is there like one thing in here that's original? It's just all this pastiche of New Testament verses. Go your way and sin no more. Perform with soberness the work which I have commanded you. Look unto me in every thought. Doubt not. Fear not.
Well.
And the final verse.
Ooh.
Dear Lord, the final
verse. Matt, do you want to take the last one? You have a
sure.
good flair when you're doing a reading.
Yeah.
You should look into doing voiceovers for audiobooks.
Behold!
Drink!
The wounds which pierced my side, and also the prints of the nails in my hands and feet. Be faithful, keep my commandments, and ye shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. Amen.
No. There you go.
He finishes his own book with Amen.
That was just like a really big way of saying, hey, Oliver, you can translate too. I think that's how you sum that up.
Yeah, pretty much.
37 verses of that.
Yeah, there was absolutely nothing there that we haven't read before or read somewhere else other than, hey, Oliver, you got a cool gift. Congrats, dude.
That's why when we reached that one verse and it said you'll have the gift to translate, all 4 of us went, ah.
Because there was something there. It's like, oh my God, we're actually going to see something.
All right, well, that is the end of section 6. And I don't know, Chuck, did you have some final thoughts? Yeah, take it away.
I did want to say one thing if you guys have time.
Plenty.
With Martin Harris, remember there was a blanket between the 2, right? And with Oliver Cowdery, there was no blanket. I guess he didn't need to keep up appearances. And now we've got a revelation from God saying that Oliver Cowdery can translate too. So I wonder if there are these various theories about who authored the Book of Mormon, right? Joseph Smith, Sidney Rigdon, Oliver Cowdery, a combination of any of those 3. I wonder if he was in on it.
Well, Bryce, you've certainly tackled that one.
Yeah, I'm actually still wondering. I'm fairly certain that Oliver and Joseph were kind of in cahoots from the beginning. They were both kind of working together to fabricate it all, and they kind of set it up as like a co-partnership almost. But as the church started maturing, as there were more and more responsibilities, it required necessarily that one of the two of them would raise up to the top and the other one would become subservient to whoever raised to the top. So there was this fine balance for a little while between Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith, and then Joseph just started being a dick more and more and stabbing Oliver in the back more and more, and then eventually Oliver was just like, all right, you're a dick, dude. I can't do as much as you're wanting me to do. So Joseph had to like take the bull by the horns and do some of it himself, like going out to Colesville. And it's a huge mess. It's like this huge, like dramatic play between the two, like a power structure that constantly is shifting between the two. But
it's a fun story. That's why I'm addicted to your show. But yeah, I actually think the biggest thing to me that kind of made it seem like they were in cahoots is when they dragged Martin Harris out to the woods and they were like, what, you can't see it? We can see it. Come on, man. Don't you have enough faith? We can see. I was like, okay, they are clearly all in on this con except for poor Martin. Like, it was just so clear.
The other piece of evidence is that you remember when he went out the final time to get the plates, he came back. Of course, he didn't have the plates in his possession, but he did have one thing, a set of spectacles, the Urim and Thummim. And they're described by Lucy Mack Smith and I think maybe one other person. And there were, I guess, these two glass things look like spectacles set inside silver bows. And recall that Oliver Cowdery is a blacksmith. So he may have been able to provide Joseph Smith with that, which is why he had to go right in the middle of the night. I wonder if he wasn't finished with the plates yet, because Joseph Smith does have a mock set of plates. He's got a set of plates that it's like rolled up in a tablecloth or something that people hefted and lifted, but they never actually saw.
Hang on. Maybe I have to stop you there, Chuck, because according to a trial, one of the court documents, somebody did see those plates.
Really?
You know about this? Yeah, Josiah Stowell. No. Yeah, he was on the stand during one of Joseph's 1830. So Joseph had two trials in 1830 when he was expanding the church. One of them was in South Bainbridge. The other one was very nearby. I can't remember the name of the Colesville. Yeah, Colesville. And Josiah Stowell testified on the stand that he saw the plates, the corner of them uncovered, and it looked like there was a block of greenish cast. So maybe it was like an old copper or something that Joseph cut up into the pieces, into squares that resembled the plates. And then he could have just punched holes on the sides of all of these plates that he cut out and ran a wire in it, and he had a set of plates that people could lift, people could manipulate and play with, but they would never see it uncovered. They'd never actually be able to, look at and examine the plates because it wouldn't pass an actual visual inspection like that.
But don't worry, Jesus saw it, right? So he's a witness.
I suspect Oliver Cowdery was not a very good blacksmith. And so maybe he helped him make up this mock set of plates that if people glanced at, maybe it would pass. But if you ever really spend any time holding it over, turning it over, or trying to pick it up and look at it, or move the actual plates and see if there's pages behind them instead of one large block, he probably was not satisfied with the final product, and that's why he kept them hidden the whole time.
Right, and that's why they supposedly disappeared too.
Of course.
It's reported that Moroni took the plates back, or Jesus took the plates back, or whatever, but that's not what was reported by the early church members. At the end of the last episode that I released, which was just a deconstruction of the Book of Mormon, 7.5 hours worth of it, I touch on this thing that's put out by the Maxwell Institute in correlation with BYU, and it's called Cumorah's Cave. And it talks about this cave that a few people were talking about during Joseph Smith's time, where they had all of these plates stored. It was just a room buried in Cumorah Hill where there's just thousands and thousands of plates. A couple of the quotes said that it was more than a 6-mule team could draw out. I mean, there's just wagon loads of metal plates in these rooms. Yeah, that's apparently a thing that we can't find because we can't go do any excavating or discovery on the Hill Cumorah because the church controls it.
Yeah, owned by the church.
Yeah, I digress.
Think, if it were true, they'd be excavating that thing up and down, right? Or even if the members of the church who were in control of this even believed the story, they'd be excavating it up and down. But no.
Yeah, and I said that a couple times during that episode is if they were to dig down, if they were to even use like ground penetrating radar to look at what was under there, they could fill dozens of museums with the artifacts that are supposedly buried in the hill. Right? I mean, you got 2 million people fought and died in this huge, huge battle there. I mean, a battle the likes of which has never existed on the planet ever before that point, and pretty much ever since, as far as swords and shields and arrows go. I mean, a massive, massive battle. We should be able to just scratch the surface off of the top of that hill and find all kinds of cool stuff.
Does anyone know where the final Jaredite battle was supposed to be? Because that was the only time in history where people actually fought themselves to death. Like, they all died fighting each other. Right? Every one of them. And the end of that story was crazy, because it's like, well, there's only 12 left on either side, but by God, they're still fighting. I was like, really? Really? This is...
That never, ever happened in ancient battles. What happened was you'd come into contact with each other. One side would gain the advantage, and the other side would break. And there was typically massive slaughter on one side as they're retreating. And the other side, maybe had a couple hundred casualties, maybe 1,000, but you'd have something like 15,000 or 20,000 on the other side as they were, either encircled or
that's
fleeing for their lives.
That's why they say Alexander the Great lost so few people throughout his entire career, because they were never the ones running. So worked out for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Armies, 1 million strong fight each other. No one breaks. To the last 24 people, they end up killing themselves. That's totally plausible.
Sure.
And it all happened in New York.
And as you mentioned, no one would have been left to take away any of the equipment, so it should still be there.
Yeah.
What a great vindication of the Book of Mormon. Just excavate the Hill Cumorah.
Yeah, if only. And we could find that room with all the plates in it. And apparently it has a sword of Laban in it, too, with an inscription.
I will never understand why that's considered a holy relic. I mean, he stole it and murdered the owner. Like, I don't understand.
Well, God told him to.
Oh, that's right. That's true. He was faithful enough to be a good cold-blooded murderer. Anyway.
You would let an entire nation dwindle in unbelief?
I still don't know what that means. I still don't understand how chopping that man's head off did anything to stop that from... because they all still dwindled in unbelief. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, they did.
They really did.
Jerusalem still fell after it happened.
Yeah. No good came of it. Just one guy got dead. All right. Well, Chuck and Matt, it has been awesome having you on. Thanks for, and we got lucky because this was like one of the most heavily drinking episodes in a long time. So that's, that was great. But before you go, why don't you tell us like where we can find your show or any additional things you want to talk about?
Don't find my show.
Oh, nonsense.
Bandwidth sucking parasite leeches as it is. It's irreligiosophy.com. Exactly how it sounds.
Yep. Just like that. Irreligiosophy.
Anything else? Anything else, Matt? I don't know.
No.
There's a Facebook group. We keep trying to get the Patreon thing going, but I'm just too lazy.
Well, when you tell people to not look for your show, that probably doesn't help. But
well, they should still donate to our Patreon. I mean, just because we haven't raised it yet.
Made one, exactly.
So basically, you're not asking anyone to listen to your show. Just pay you for it. I like it.
Yes. Yeah.
Works.
We're just cutting out the middleman.
You don't want to waste people's time. It's like, give me your money, but I don't want to ask for your time and money. Just one.
Exactly.
They can send
if you like the show, donate to the My Book of Mormon podcast or the Naked Mormonism podcast, both of which very good.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I feel the same, and I can't stress enough. Even if you hate these two, even if they just annoyed the hell out of you, which I can't imagine, you still should go listen to the Founding Fathers episodes because it's very, to me, it was absolutely enlightening. And so thank you so much for the research you put into that.
Yeah, and from my perspective as well, listen to the Mountain Meadows Massacre episode, because that was one of the best and most succinct coverages of Mountain Meadows that I've ever heard. You guys even touched on some of the politics that were leading up to it with various people that were leaders in the church. And I mean, it was a very, very well done and well researched coverage of Mountain Meadows Massacre, better than I could have done. So I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed by it. I would recommend everybody goes and listens to at least those Founding Father episodes and the Meadows Massacre. They're great.
There you go. And if you haven't figured out, Bryce and I are a bit of history nerds, so we kind of really like that stuff. If you haven't figured that out already.
We're much less annoying on our own podcast than we were on this episode, so there's that.
Okay. And no, I'm not kidding. Annoying. There's only a handful of podcasts that I never miss an episode, and two of those shows are represented right here, both Naked Mormonism and Irreligiosophy. So we have quite the team here. At least for me, this is a great fan moment. So, and also,
thanks for having us on.
Yeah. And once again, thank you so much for what you did to kick the show off. Like I said, just taking a risk and letting me on so early into my show, just starting out. And if you don't know, this show kind of was one of the reasons that inspired Naked Mormonism to be birthed. So you guys, kind of responsible for quite a trend that you started there. So thanks.
Yes.
Right on. Right on.
I accept no responsibility.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. From my point of view, your perspective on the My Book of Mormon is amazing because, again, like I said when we had you on, it's very rare to talk to someone, because I live in Utah, who has never heard of Mormonism or has no experience with it and then encounters the Book of Mormon for the first time. Or, man, now I want to go and listen to the Book of Abraham stuff that you did, the Pearl of Great Price, too.
Yes.
And the Naked Mormonism, the research on that, the amount of research is stunning. So if you have any interest in the fascinating history of Joseph Smith and the foundation of the Mormon Church and what actually went on without any of the apologetic trappings that you always get through the Mormon Church, go and listen to that podcast. It is fantastic.
Well, Chuck, Bryce's ultimate goal is to turn it into a TV show. How awesome would that be?
That would be awesome. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Matt, you could be Joseph Smith.
Oh, sweet.
I
don't want to be Oliver.
I kind of promised Joseph Smith to David Michael there. He's got to chip his tooth and talk with a lisp and have a limp for the rest of his life. But no, still, I mean, Matt, you can definitely be Oliver.
Well, I think I'd rather play Martin Harris. He sounds like my kind of guy.
Get your big old bright white chin strap beard going. It'd be great.
All right. Well, once again, thanks for everything. You guys are awesome. Bryce, do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Chuck, for the plug of the show. I really appreciate that. That was awfully nice of you, and I can't sing Irreligiosophy's praises high enough either. So this is a Class A team of premium podcasters here. So, yeah.
All right. Well, now that we're all done stroking each other, sounds like
think of all the tens of people out there listening right now.
All
I will check out that other podcast.
I don't know about double digits. I don't think it's quite that high yet.
Well, if you add us into it, it could be.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Are you guys going to go back and listen to this later? Because if you do, I think that definitely qualifies. I think we're there.
Yeah. Let's get us there.
I'll download it, but I can't listen to it.
Well, that's fine. Yeah.
I can't take sound of my own.
Matt doesn't listen to our own podcast.
I tried once.
You just couldn't do it?
My stereo. Yeah, I was like, oh, God, that's irritating.
Yeah. His voice put him off.
So Matt, if you were ever given the duties to edit the show, you just cut yourself entirely out.
I couldn't even listen to edit it, so I'd do a Bill O'Reilly. It would just be all in there.
We'll do it live.
The music on the front, the music on the back.
Right on.
All right, gentlemen. Well, to all three of you, thanks so much for coming on. I've had a blast. And listen, guys, I was out in Salt Lake City a few months ago. I tried getting a hold of you, and I couldn't. So maybe next time I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah, come over. I'll take you out to dinner.
Fantastic. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
And bye.
Thanks again.
This song is licensed for use within this podcast. All song and copyright information can be found at www.mybookofmormonpodcast.com.